The whistle's shrill echo sliced through the crisp autumn air like a betrayal, hanging over the packed stadium where the roar of the crowd drowned out everything but the pounding in Elena Vasquez's chest. She stood on the sidelines of Lincoln High's football field, her whistle still warm between her fingers, eyes locked on the chaos unfolding. Her star quarterback, Jake Harlan, crumpled on the turf after a brutal sack, his leg twisted at an angle that screamed career-ender. But it wasn't Jake's groan that twisted the knife in her gut. It was the sharp intake of breath from Riley Harlan, his twin sister and the cheer captain, who vaulted the barrier in a blur of red and gold pom-poms, her face crumpling like the first crack in a dam ready to burst. Elena had known this storm was brewing since the season kicked off 3 months ago. Back when Riley's cheers still lit up the Friday nights like fireworks over Puget Sound, and Elena's coaching pep talks lingered a beat too long in the empty locker room, scented with the faint tang of sweat and eucalyptus from the training room's humidifier. Now, as paramedics swarmed the field under the floodlights' harsh glare, Elena's world narrowed to Riley's trembling form kneeling beside her brother, golden hair matted with field dew. Her uniform skirt hiked up just enough to reveal the goosebumps racing across her thighs from the chill wind off the lake. "He's gonna be okay," Elena murmured, dropping to one knee beside her, the gravel biting into her skin through her track pants, her hand hovering inches from Riley's shoulder, close enough to feel the heat radiating off her, but not touching, not yet, because one graze could shatter the fragile wall they'd built between duty and desire. Riley's blue eyes, usually sparkling with that infectious captain's fire, were glassy now, fixed on Jake's pale face as the medic strapped him to the board. A soft sob escaped her lips, muffled by the back of her hand, and Elena felt it like a punch, the way Riley's world, already frayed from their parents' bitter divorce last spring, teetered on this edge. Jake wasn't just her twin. He was her anchor, the one who dragged her to these games when she wanted to hide in her sketchbooks, doodling dreams of escaping this rainy corner of Washington for the sun-drenched beaches of California. Elena swallowed hard, tasting the metallic bite of adrenaline on her tongue, and finally let her fingers brush Riley's arm, light as a whisper, but it ignited something fierce, a spark that had been smoldering since that rainy practice in September when Riley had slipped on the slick mats and Elena caught her, their bodies aligning in a way that neither could forget. The crowd's murmurs swelled into a sympathetic hush as Jake was carted off, the scoreboard frozen at halftime, 14-7 against them. Elena rose, pulling Riley up with her, the girl's weight leaning into her side for just a second too long, her breath warm against Elena's neck, carrying the faint vanilla of her lip balm mixed with the earthy musk of the field. "Come on," Elena said, voice low and steady like the distant rumble of thunder over the Cascades, guiding Riley toward the tunnel where the cheer squad huddled, wide-eyed and whispering. But inside Elena's mind raced. This injury wasn't just a game-changer. It ripped open the secret she'd buried deeper than her own family's ghosts. Her abuela's stern warnings back in East LA about loving who you love in a world that still flinched at the sight. Riley Harlan, with her easy laugh and the way she bit her lip when nervous, had become Elena's quiet obsession, stolen glances during routines turning into late-night texts about nothing and everything, until the line between coach and confidant blurred into something dangerously real. By the time they reached the locker room, the air thick with the sharp scent of Bengay and damp towels, Riley had pulled away, wiping her eyes with the hem of her top, exposing a sliver of midriff that made Elena's throat tighten. "I can't lose him, coach," Riley whispered, her voice cracking like dry leaves underfoot, leaning against the cool metal of a locker as if it could hold her upright. The other cheerleaders filtered in, their chatter a distant buzz, something about rescheduling the pyramid routine, but Elena waved them off, telling them to head home, her authority masking the tremor in her hands. Alone now, the fluorescent hum overhead the only sound besides Riley's ragged breaths, Elena stepped closer, the space between them shrinking until she could see the faint freckles across Riley's nose, like stars scattered by a careless god. "You're not losing him," Elena replied, her words deliberate, each one an anchor dropped into the storm. She reached out again, this time cupping Riley's elbow, feeling the rapid flutter of her pulse beneath the skin, bird wings trapped in silk. Riley's gaze lifted, locking onto Elena's with an intensity that stole the air from the room, her lips parting on a shaky exhale that ghosted across Elena's collarbone. For a heartbeat, the world held its breath. The drip of a leaky faucet in the showers, the faint echo of the crowd dispersing outside, the way Riley's fingers twitched toward Elena's waistband as if magnetized. Then, like a director yelling cut on a scene too raw for the screen, Riley jerked back, her cheeks flushing crimson under the harsh lights. I should go to the hospital," she stammered, grabbing her duffel with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. Elena nodded, swallowing the ache blooming in her chest, the one that tasted like unshed tears and unspoken I love yous. "I'll drive you," she offered, because letting Riley go alone felt like abandoning a ship in the night. As they walked out into the parking lot, rain starting to patter on the asphalt like impatient fingers, Elena stole a glance at Riley's profile, the sharp line of her jaw, the way her hair curled damply at her temples. This was supposed to be just another season, Elena coaching the cheer squad to keep her mind off the dead-end dates with guys who never quite fit, Riley captaining with that effortless grace born from years of proving she was more than Jake's sister. But tonight, with the stadium lights fading behind them like dying embers, Elena knew the game had shifted irrevocably. The real play wasn't on the field. It was in the stolen moments, the what-ifs that clawed at her ribs, demanding to be set free. The drive to Seattle General was a tense symphony of windshield wipers slapping rhythmically against the downpour, the radio murmuring some indie folk tune about lost loves under gray skies. Fitting, Elena thought bitterly, as headlights cut through the sheets of rain like knives. Riley sat rigid in the passenger seat of Elena's beat-up Subaru, knees drawn up, staring out at the blurred neon of coffee shops and taquerias along Aurora Avenue. Every red light stretched the silence, broken only by Riley's occasional sniffle, the sound wet and raw, pulling at Elena like a tide. "He texted me before the game," Riley finally said, voice barely above the engine's hum, unfolding her phone with trembling fingers. The screen glowed. "Kill it tonight, sis. You're the real MVP." Elena's grip tightened on the wheel, leather creaking under her palms, the scent of wet earth seeping through the vents mixing with Riley's fading vanilla. At the hospital, the air buzzed with fluorescent sterility, beeps of monitors, the low murmur of nurses in scrubs scented with antiseptic, the occasional wail from a curtained bay that made Elena's skin crawl. Jake was in surgery, the doctor explained in clipped tones, a fractured tibia and ligament tears that would sideline him for the playoffs, maybe longer. Riley nodded numbly, collapsing into a plastic chair in the waiting area. Her cheer skirt rumpled and grass-stained, looking every bit the warrior stripped of her armor. Elena sank beside her, their thighs brushing in the narrow space, a contact that sent a jolt up her spine like static from a wool blanket. She wanted to wrap Riley in her arms, to murmur promises against her hair that everything would mend, but the waiting room's prying eyes, families huddled over vending machine coffee, a janitor mopping linoleum with rhythmic squeaks, held her back. Hours blurred into a haze of bad coffee from the lobby machine, its bitter drip echoing Elena's growing exhaustion, until the surgeon emerged at dawn, his scrubs speckled with effort, announcing Jake would pull through but needed weeks of rehab. Relief washed over Riley like a wave, her shoulders sagging as she buried her face in Elena's shoulder. Finally, the dam broke, hot tears soaking through Elena's hoodie, her body shaking with sobs that tasted of salt and surrender. Elena held her then, arms encircling Riley's frame, feeling the rapid rise and fall of her chest, the soft hitch in her breaths that spoke volumes no words could. In that sterile limbo, with the first gray light filtering through the windows, Elena pressed her lips to Riley's temple, a chaste kiss meant for comfort, but it lingered warm and waited, awakening the truth they'd both danced around. As Jake was wheeled to recovery, groggy and bandaged, Riley pulled Elena aside in the hallway, the linoleum cold under their sneakers, the air humming with the distant clatter of breakfast trays. "Thank you," Riley whispered, her hand finding Elena's, fingers interlacing with a tentative squeeze that felt like a vow. Elena's heart thundered, the corridor spinning slightly from lack of sleep, but she met Riley's eyes, those ocean blue depths swirling with gratitude and something deeper, hungrier. "Anytime," Elena breathed, thumb tracing a slow circle on Riley's knuckles, the touch electric, promising more than words ever could. But as they parted for the parking lot, the sun cresting over the Olympics in a blaze of pink and gold, Elena felt the shadow of the conflict ahead. The school board's watchful eyes, the small-town whispers that could unravel everything, and the undeniable pull drawing her toward a love that demanded everything. Back home in her cramped apartment overlooking Lake Union, Elena collapsed onto her unmade bed. The sheets rumpled from restless nights, the faint scent of Riley's vanilla clinging to her clothes like a ghost. She replayed the night. The field lights glare, Riley's tears, that kiss on her temple that burned hotter than any touchdown celebration. Sleep evaded her, chased away by the what-ifs. What if they crossed that line? What if the town that cheered her coaching prowess turned on her for loving the girl who led their cheers? Elena rolled over, burying her face in the pillow, a low sigh escaping her lips, heavy with the weight of secrets. Outside, ferries horned across the water, a reminder that some crossings were worth the risk, even if they capsized you. Meanwhile, across town in the Harlan family's split level in Ballard, Riley paced her bedroom, posters of pop icons and college brochures peeling at the edges, the room still smelling of Jake's cologne from the shared bathroom. She stripped off her uniform, the fabric whispering against her skin, and stood under the shower scalding spray, letting the water cascade over her like absolution. But it couldn't wash away the feel of Elena's arms, the steady beat of her heart against Riley's cheek, or the way that temple kiss had ignited a fire low in her belly, one she'd tried to ignore since their first real talk after a loss last month. Riley leaned against the tile, cool and unforgiving, her breath fogging the glass, a soft moan slipping out as she traced the memory of Elena's touch down her own arm. She was straight, or so she told herself through high school crushes on boys who never stuck, through the ache of watching Elena command the field with that effortless strength. But tonight, with Jake safe and the world tilting on its axis, Riley admitted the truth in the steam-shrouded mirror. She was falling hard and fast, for the woman who saw her not as the captain or the sister, but as Riley, raw, real, ready. The next morning brought no reprieve. Practice loomed, the cheer squad expecting Elena's iron-fisted routine, Riley's unwavering lead. As Elena laced up her sneakers in the gym's echoing vastness, the squeak of rubber on polished wood a familiar comfort, she spotted Riley arriving early, duffel slung over her shoulder, her smile tentative but bright, like sunlight piercing clouds. They moved through warm-ups in sync, stretches that pulled muscles taut, jumps that defied gravity. Their eyes meeting in fleeting sparks amid the squad's chatter about Jake's recovery fundraisers. But beneath the precision, tension coiled. A brush of hands during a partner lift, Elena's palm flat against Riley's lower back, feeling the heat seep through spandex. Riley's laugh a touch too throaty when Elena cracked a joke about botched pyramids smelling like failure. By midday, as the squad broke for lunch, Elena found Riley lingering by the bleachers, unwrapping a turkey sandwich with fingers that still bore grass stains. "How's he doing?" Elena asked, settling beside her, the metal warm from the sun streaming through high windows, carrying the distant tang of cafeteria fries. Riley's shoulders relaxed at the question, but her eyes held Elena's with that new intensity. "Grumpy as hell but alive." A pause, then softer. "Couldn't have gotten through last night without you." The words hung, laden, and Elena felt her resolve fray like old rope. She leaned in, voice a rumble. "You don't have to do it alone, Ree." Riley's nickname slipped out unbidden, intimate as a caress, and she turned, their faces inches apart, breaths mingling in the charged air. For a suspended moment, Elena could taste the possibility. Riley's lips soft and yielding, the world fading to just them. But the gym door banged open, a janitor's cart rattling in, shattering the spell. Riley pulled back, cheeks pink, but her hand squeezed Elena's knee under the bench. A secret promise, bold and brief. As the afternoon wore on, routines sharpening to razor edges, Elena coached with renewed fire, her commands laced with the undercurrent of what simmered beneath. Yet doubt gnawed. Principal Hargrove's recent memos about professional boundaries echoed in her mind. The town's conservative underbelly whispering of past scandals that ended careers. Still, when Riley nailed a flawless Liberty stunt, her body arched in triumphant grace. Elena's applause thundered loudest, her pride laced with a possessiveness that scared her as much as it thrilled. Evening found them at a fundraiser car wash in the school lot. Rain holding off for once, the air buzzing with laughter and soapy sponges slapping against hoods. Elena manned the hose, water arcing in crystalline sprays, while Riley scrubbed a row of SUVs, her tank top clinging damply, outlining curves that made Elena's mouth dry. Between vehicles they stole moments, Riley flicking suds at Elena's cheek, eliciting a rare, full laugh that rumbled from deep in her chest. Elena retaliating with a gentle spray, watching droplets trace paths down Riley's neck, disappearing into shadowed hollows. The squad buzzed around them oblivious, but Elena felt exposed, every glance a risk. As dusk painted the sky in bruised purples, Riley sidled up, voice low amid the splash of buckets. "Meet me later? By the lake? Just to talk." Elena's yes was a whisper, heart slamming like a bass drum. Driving home through twilight streets lined with glowing porches, she wrestled the angel and devil on her shoulders, the safe path of denial versus the blaze of truth. Parking her car, she lingered, engine ticking cool, the radio fading to a ballad about forbidden fires. One night, she told herself. One conversation to draw the line or cross it. At the lake's edge, where black water lapped at pebbled shores under a canopy of evergreens, Riley waited on a driftwood log, wrapped in a hoodie against the chill, her silhouette silvered by moonlight. Elena approached, gravel crunching softly, the scent of pine and wet stone grounding her. They sat in silence first, shoulders touching, the only sounds the lap of waves and a distant owl's hoot, nature's indifferent witness. "I keep replaying it," Riley confessed, voice threading through the dark like silk. "You holding me. It felt right." Elena's breath caught, a sharp inhale that tasted of lake mist, and she turned, cupping Riley's face in calloused hands, thumbs brushing away a tear track. "It scares me too," she admitted, raw as exposed nerves. "But denying it? That's killing me slower." Their lips met then, tentative at first, a brush of softness tasting of salt and longing, then deepening, Riley's hands fisting in Elena's jacket, pulling her closer as if afraid she'd vanish. The kiss unfolded like a scene from a hidden reel. Urgent, unscripted, Elena's fingers tangling in Riley's hair, the world narrowing to the heat building between them, breaths mingling in gasps that echoed off the water. When they broke apart, foreheads pressed, Riley's whisper was a vow. "Whatever comes, I'm in." Elena nodded, heart full to bursting, but as they walked back hand in hand, the night's embrace felt like borrowed time, the dawn promising reckonings neither was ready for. Weeks blurred into a rhythm of stolen sunsets and shadowed practices, the cheer squad's precision masking the electric undercurrent between Elena and Riley, like a live wire humming beneath the field. Jake's rehab sessions became their unwitting alibi, Elena volunteering to drive him to physical therapy in Tacoma, Riley tagging along with protein shakes and playlists of hype anthems, the three of them crammed in the Subaru, laughter filling the cab to drown out the growing whispers. But alone in the clinic's waiting room, amid the sterile beep of blood pressure cuffs and the faint rubbery scent of exercise bands, Elena and Riley's fingers would intertwine under a shared magazine, thumbs tracing lazy patterns that spoke of nights spent mapping each other's skin in Riley's attic bedroom, the slanted ceiling pressing close like a secret keeper. One such evening, after Jake's grueling session left him dozing in the back seat, Riley slid into the front, her thigh pressing against Elena's as the engine purred to life. The highway stretched dark and endless, taillights winking like distant stars, rain pattering a soft staccato on the roof. "Pull over," Riley murmured, voice husky with the day's pent-up want, her hand already venturing to Elena's knee, fingers inching upward with deliberate slowness. Elena's pulse thrummed, a wild drumbeat, but she signaled at the next exit, veering onto a forgotten service road flanked by towering firs, their needles whispering in the wind. Parking amid the gloom, headlights cutting twin beams into the underbrush, Elena killed the engine, the sudden silence amplifying Riley's quickened breaths, the rustle of her shifting closer. Their reunion was fevered, lips crashing, hands roaming with the urgency of the forbidden, Elena's back arching against the steering wheel as Riley's mouth trailed fire down her neck, nipping at the pulse point that betrayed her every racing thought. The car windows fogged, a hazy veil against the world, the air thick with the musk of arousal and the earthy damp of the forest floor seeping through cracked seals. "God, I need you," Riley gasped, straddling Elena's lap, her hips grinding in a rhythm that drew a guttural moan from deep in Elena's throat, the sound raw and unrehearsed, vibrating through them both. Fabric whispered away. Jeans unbuttoned with fumbling haste, Riley's tank top rucked up to expose the soft plane of her stomach, Elena's hands worshipping the curve she'd memorized in dreams. Pleasure built like a storm front, cresting in shudders and sighs that echoed in the confined space. Riley's nails digging crescents into Elena's shoulders as she came undone, her cry muffled against Elena's shoulder, tasting of sweat and surrender. Afterward, tangled and spent, they lay with Riley's head on Elena's chest, the steady thump of her heart a lullaby against the night's chorus of crickets and distant traffic hum. Elena stroked damp strands from Riley's forehead, the gesture tender, laced with the ache of knowing this bliss was a thief in the night. What if they find out? Riley whispered, tracing idle hearts on Elena's collarbone, her voice small amid the afterglow. Elena's sigh was heavy, chest rising and falling like bellows, carrying the weight of her abuela's rosary beads back home, the beads that clicked like judgments. Then we fight, she replied, fierce as the coach who turned losses into legends, but inside fear coiled cold, a serpent in the garden they'd planted. The facade cracked first at the homecoming pep rally, under strings of fairy lights strung across the gym like careless wishes, the air buzzing with the sharp crackle of pom-poms and the buttery scent of popcorn from the concession stand. Elena led the squad through their routine, her commands crisp over the bass thump of the sound system, but her eyes kept drifting to Riley at the apex of the pyramid, body taut and gleaming under the spots, every flip a dare to the universe. The crowd erupted as they stuck the landing, cheers swelling like a tidal wave, but Principal Hargrove's gaze lingered too long from the bleachers, his wire-rimmed eyes narrowing behind the flash of his phone camera, capturing not just the spectacle, but the way Elena's hand steadied Riley's waist a fraction too intimately during the dismount. By Monday, the memo arrived in Elena's inbox. Professional conduct review. Immediate meeting. Her stomach plummeted, coffee turning sour on her tongue as she read it in the staff lounge, the hum of the ancient fridge mocking her. Hargrove's office smelled of old books and lemon polish, his desk a fortress of papers and framed family photos, wife and kids beaming from a yacht in the San Juans. Rumors, Coach Vasquez, he said, steepling fingers that hadn't gripped a whistle in decades, his voice oily as lake scum. About you and Miss Harlan. Inappropriate closeness. We can't have distractions during playoffs. Elena's jaw clenched, the metallic tang of bitten-back retorts flooding her mouth, but she nodded, voice even. Understood. It's mentoring, nothing more. The lie burned hot as Riley's touch, and as she left, the hallway's fluorescent flicker felt like a strobe on her unraveling world. Riley sensed the shift that afternoon, cornering Elena in the equipment shed behind the field, the space dim and cluttered with mats that smelled of chalk dust and rubber. What's wrong? She demanded, blue eyes searching, hands framing Elena's face with a gentleness that nearly undid her. Elena's resolve crumbled, words tumbling out in a rush, the meeting, the rumors, the threat of reassignment to the JV squad. A demotion that would strip her of the varsity fire she lived for. Riley's face paled, lips pressing thin, but then she surged forward, kissing Elena with a desperation that tasted of salt, tears maybe, or the sea air clinging to her hair from a morning run. We can't stop, Riley breathed against her mouth, hands sliding under Elena's shirt, palms hot brands on bare skin. Not now. Not ever. They made love there amid the shadows, urgent and unyielding. Riley's back against a stack of hurdles, legs wrapped around Elena's waist, the creak of wood punctuating their rhythm like a forbidden soundtrack. Gasps mingled with the distant thud of soccer balls on the adjacent pitch, Elena's name a chant on Riley's lips, drawn out in whimpers that clawed at Elena's control. Release came fierce, bodies shuddering in unison, sweat slicked and spent. But the afterglow soured quick, reality's chill seeping in like fog off the water. We'll be careful, Elena promised, zipping Riley's hoodie with trembling fingers. But the words felt hollow, echoes in an emptying arena. The rumors metastasized, fed by a viral clip from the rally. Riley's hand on Elena's arm, frozen in a frame that screamed intimacy. Parents' emails flooded the principal's inbox, laced with concern over role models and traditional values. The town's progressive veneer cracking to reveal the rust beneath. Elena fielded glares at the grocery store in Fremont, where hipsters sipped lattes oblivious to the side eyes from PTA moms in yoga pants. Riley withdrew, her cheers mechanical, the spark dimmed, until one night she showed up at Elena's door. rain-soaked and wild-eyed, duffel in hand like a runaway. "Jake knows," she blurted, water pooling on the welcome mat, her voice breaking on a sob. "He saw us at the lake. Says he'll cover, but Mom, she suspects." Elena pulled her inside. The apartment's warmth a cocoon of vanilla candles and take-out Thai containers, wrapping Riley in a towel that smelled of her own lavender soap. They curled on the couch, Riley's head in Elena's lap, fingers combing through wet curls as thunder grumbled outside. Jake's acceptance had been a quiet grace. His nod in the hospital weeks back, murmuring "Be happy, sis." But their mother's calls had turned probing, laced with Bible verses about paths straight and narrow. "I can't choose," Riley whispered, tears tracing warm paths down Elena's thigh. "You or them." Elena's heart fractured, a clean snap, and she tilted Riley's chin up, eyes fierce. "You choose you. We'll figure the rest." But the board's hearing loomed, a guillotine shadow, forcing Elena to confront her past. The scholarship that pulled her from LA's barrios to this rainy exile. The closet she'd cracked open only in stolen journals, pages filled with Riley's name in looping script. Sleepless nights stretched, Elena pacing her balcony overlooking the lake's black mirror. The slap of halyards on masts a metronome to her turmoil. Dawn brought resolve. She'd fight, not with pleas but proof, the squad's undefeated streak. The way Riley's leadership forged them into something unbreakable. The hearing unfolded in the boardroom's stuffy confines, air heavy with coffee breath and the rustle of agendas, Hargrove presiding like a judge in khakis. Elena stood tall, voice steady as she laid out stats, win records, morale boosts, framing their bond as mentorship's gold standard. Riley waited outside, twisting her captain's lanyard, the hallway's vending machine humming like nerves. When Elena emerged, reprieved but warned, "One more whisper and it's over." Riley launched into her arms, the embrace fierce amid echoing lockers. "We won this round," Elena murmured, lips brushing Riley's ear. But the victory tasted bittersweet, laced with the knowledge that love, like the game, demanded constant vigilance. As playoffs neared, tension coiled tighter, practices electric with unspoken stakes. One crisp evening, post-drill, the squad dispersed, leaving Elena and Riley to dismantle the net. Their movements synced, a dance of ropes and clips. Laughter bubbled up. Riley mimicking a botched toss, Elena retaliating with a playful shove that ended in a tumble onto the mats, bodies entwined in a heap of giggles and gasps. The gym's high windows framed a sunset bleeding orange across the sky, and in that golden hush, Elena kissed her slow and deep, savoring the yield of Riley's mouth, the soft hum of contentment vibrating between them. Closer than ever, Riley echoed the title of their unspoken story, fingers tracing Elena's jaw, but shadows lengthened, hinting at storms yet to break. Playoff fever gripped Lincoln High like a fever dream, banners fluttering from lampposts along the waterfront drag. The air electric with grill smoke from tailgate parties and the briny tang of salt from the sound. Elena threw herself into strategy sessions, whiteboards scrawled with formations in her cramped office, the scent of dry erase markers mingling with the ever-present eucalyptus from her diffuser, a small rebellion against the stress gnawing her edges. Riley mirrored the intensity, choreographing routines that pushed the squad to their limits, her commands sharp over the thud of sneakers on mats, but her eyes sought Elena's in every mirror reflection, a silent tether amid the frenzy. The first round against Roosevelt High unfolded under a sky bruised with impending rain. The stadium a cauldron of stomps and chants, bass from the marching band vibrating through Elena's bones. She paced the sidelines, whistle at her lips, the turf's fresh-cut grass scent grounding her as the football team surged. Jake on crutches, yelling plays from the bench like a general in exile. Riley's cheers cut through the din, her pyramid soaring flawless, body a arc of defiance. And when they nailed the finale, Elena's whoop joined the roar, raw and unfiltered, drawing Hargrove's arched brow from the press box. Post-game, in the euphoric crush of the locker room, high-fives turning to hugs, Riley slipped Elena a stolen kiss behind a row of lockers, brief, searing, tasting of Gatorade and triumph. But the thrill soured when a junior cheerleader's giggle echoed too close, freezing them in place. Whispers evolved into stares, the squad fracturing into allies and the wary. Mia, the base flyer with purple-streaked hair and a nose ring, cornered Riley after school in the quad, rain misting the air like fine spray from a hose. "You two," It's obvious, she said, voice low under the patter on picnic tables, her eyes kind but probing. Riley's cheeks burned, heart hammering like a bass drop, but Mia's grin softened the blow. It's cool. Just watch your backs. The endorsement was a lifeline, but it amplified the isolation. Other girls averting eyes, parents pulling daughters from optional sessions. Elena felt it most at faculty mixers, nursing a seltzer in the corner of the teacher's lounge, the chatter of lesson plans a wall against her solitude, until Riley's text buzzed, Lake. Now. Need you. The rendezvous was reckless, headlights off as Elena parked in the pullout. The water's lap a soothing murmur under stars pricked like sequins on black velvet. Riley emerged from the trees, blanket in tow, her silhouette lithe against the night, and they spread it on the pebbled beach, bodies aligning like puzzle pieces worn smooth by time. Conversation flowed easy at first, recaps of the win, Jake's trash talk about next week's rival, but deepened into confessions, Riley's head on Elena's stomach, fingers toying with the hem of her shirt. I came out to Mom last night, she admitted, voice a thread in the dark, the words landing like stones in still water. Elena's breath hitched, hands stilling in Riley's hair, the scent of her shampoo, citrus and clean filling her lungs. She cried, said she loves me but, prays I'll find my way. Elena's chest tightened, a vice of empathy and rage, and she pulled Riley up, their faces close, breath sinking in the chill. You're not lost, she growled, low and fierce, sealing it with a kiss that started gentle, lips brushing like wings, then ignited, tongues tangling, hands urgent, peeling layers until skin met skin under the blanket's cover. The night air nipped at exposed flesh, heightening every sensation. Riley's nails raking Elena's back in slow drags, drawing forth moans that blended with the wave's hush. Elena's mouth charting paths down Riley's throat, over collarbone peaks, eliciting shivers and pleas whispered like prayers. They moved together unhurried this time. A symphony of sighs and skin slaps muted by fabric, climax cresting in waves that left them gasping, entwined, the stars witnesses to their union. Dawn crept in rosy-fingered, finding them dressed and driving back, Riley's hand on Elena's thigh a warm anchor. But the idol shattered at practice. Hargrove waiting in the gym, arms crossed, his summons curt. My office Vasquez. Harlan too. The walk there was a march to judgment, fluorescent tubes buzzing overhead like angry hornets, Riley's palms sweating in Elena's grip until they released at the door. Inside, Hargrove's face was thunder, a printed email chain splayed on his desk, screenshots of blurry photos from the rally, anonymous tips about inappropriate relations. This ends now, he barked, jabbing a finger, the vein in his temple pulsing like a warning flare. Suspension pending investigation. Both of you. The words landed like body blows, Elena's vision tunneling, tasting bile, while Riley's gasp was a knife twist, sharp, visceral. They left in stunned silence, the hallway stretching endless, lockers blurring past. Outside, rain lashed the pavement, mirroring the storm inside, and Riley broke first, sobs wrenching free as she collapsed against Elena's car, the metal cold under her palms. It's over, she choked, mascara streaking like war paint. Elena pulled her close, rain soaking them through, her own tears mingling unseen. Not us, she vowed, voice cracking like thunder, holding Riley as if she could shield her from the deluge. But driving home, wipers slashing fury, Elena's mind raced. Lawyers? Resignations? The playbook for heartbreak she'd never studied. Isolation deepened, Elena confined to desk duty, lesson plans a blur on her laptop in the dim apartment, the lake's view mocking her with its calm. Riley texted sporadically, her messages laced with Jake's support. He's raging for us. But threaded with fear. The cheer captain's fire banked to embers. Nights alone, Elena paced to the rhythm of creaking floorboards, the fridge's hum a lonely companion, until a knock shattered the quiet. Riley, eyes red-rimmed, bearing takeout from their favorite faux spot in the International District, the broth star Anna steam curling like incense. They ate on the floor, cross-legged amid cushions, chopsticks clinking softly, the normalcy a bomb. I quit the squad, Riley confessed between bites, voice steady now, the decision a armor forged in fire. Can't cheer without you there. Elena's fork paused, noodles dangling, a surge of pride warring with grief. Proud of you, she said, leaning to kiss a broth fleck from Riley's lip, the touch lingering into more. Hands rediscovering paths, bodies yielding on the rug, the room filling with their symphony. Riley's breathy laughs at a ticklish spot, Elena's groans low and gravelly, pleasure uncoiling slow, deliberate, until release washed them clean. Afterward, curled under a throw blanket scented with their mingled sweat, Riley traced Elena's tattoos. A tribal rose from her LA days, thorns sharp as memory. "We'll start over," she murmured, sleep tugging her words soft. "Somewhere they can't touch us." Elena held her tighter, the promise a beacon, but dawn brought the board's verdict. Elena reinstated on probation, Riley encouraged to transfer squads. A Pyrrhic win tasting of ash. Semifinals loomed, the town divided. Petitions circulating for Elena's ousting, countered by student rallies waving signs scrawled with "Love wins" in glitter glue. Jake hobbled into Elena's office one afternoon, crutches clicking like Morse code. His grin lopsided but genuine. "Sis needs you," he said, dropping into a chair with a wince, the air shifting to bro conspiracy. "And I need my QB back next year. Don't let the suits win." His blessing sealed cracks, but the real fracture came at the pre-game dinner, a potluck in the cafeteria reeking of casseroles and tension, where a parent's veiled barb, some coaches' play favorites, hung like smoke. Riley overheard, storming out to the loading dock, where Elena found her kicking at a pallet, tears hot on her cheeks. "They hate us," she spat, voice breaking on the wind whipping off the bay. Elena enveloped her, arms a fortress, murmuring nonsense about stronger teams forged in fire, until anger melted to need. Their kiss salt-edged, bodies pressing urgent against chain link, the fence rattling like applause. It was hurried, half-clothed, Riley's skirt hiked, Elena's hand slipping beneath to elicit gasps that fogged the air. Climax a quicksilver spark amid the gathering dusk. "For us," Elena panted, forehead to Riley's, the vow etched in every labored breath. Game night arrived, stadium pulsing under Klieg lights, the crowd a sea of red and gold, chants rolling like thunder. Elena coached from afar, clipboard in hand, heart in her throat as the team clashed, tackles crunching bone, cheers piercing the fray. Riley watched from the stands, incognito in a hoodie, her presence a talisman Elena felt across the distance. Halftime tied, tension a wire, but the second half surged. Interceptions, a game-winning field goal as the clock bled zero. Victory exploded, confetti raining like tears of joy, but Elena's eyes sought Riley's amid the melee. They're not a silent roar. In the afterglow of the locker room frenzy, Elena slipped away to the field, dew-kissed grass yielding under her steps, the scoreboard's glow fading. Riley met her there, running full tilt, launching into Elena's arms, legs wrapping as they spun, laughter bubbling free. "We did it," Riley breathed, kiss after kiss peppering Elena's face, the world a blur of lights and cheers. But as the stadium emptied, echoes fading to whispers, Elena pulled back, eyes serious. "This isn't the end," she said, hand over Riley's heart, feeling its gallop. "It's our beginning." Riley nodded, tears gleaming, the promise hanging sweet as the night's first stars. Yet triumph's edge cut deep. Hargrove's email waited at home. Full clearance, but with a codicil for discretion. Elena deleted it unread, pulling Riley close on the balcony, city lights twinkling below like shared secrets. They made love under the open sky, slow and reverent. Riley's mouth exploring with worshipful laps, Elena's fingers coaxing sighs that drifted on the breeze, release a shared cresting that left them boneless, staring at constellations. "Closer than ever," Elena echoed, the words a mantra, but sleep brought dreams of fractures, the game's true cost lurking in the shadows. Championship week descended like a crown of thorns, Seattle's skyline etched sharp against winter's approach, the air crisp with pine from wreaths on every storefront, and the undernote of espresso from drive-thrus packed with bleary-eyed fans. Elena and Riley navigated the spotlight with cautious grace. Public distance masking private fires, their touches reduced to knee brushes under diner booths or coded emojis in group chats that made the squad smirk knowingly. Jake, cleared for light drills, became their buffer, his booming laugh deflecting questions at team barbecues in Golden Gardens Park, where the grill's smoky char mingled with the tidal scent of low tide, clams crunching underfoot. but cracks spiderwebbed inevitable. A tabloid from the local rag splashed a scandal piece, grainy shots of their lake tryst, blurred but damning headline cheer foul. Coach's sideline romance rocks Lincoln. The news hit like a blindside hit, Elena's phone exploding with voicemails. Her mother's worried Spanglish from LA, pleading Mija ven a casa, the principal's curt statement required. Riley fielded worse. Classmates' DMs laced with slurs, her mailbox stuffed with pamphlets on reparative therapy. The paper's creases sharp as accusations. She burned them in the backyard fire pit one evening, flames licking high under a canopy of smoke, Jake stoking the blaze with silent solidarity, his crutch propped nearby like a scepter. Elena arrived as embers glowed, pulling Riley from the heat into the cool grass, their embrace a defiance. "Let them talk," she murmured, lips grazing Riley's temple, the same spot from that hospital night months back, now a map point of memory. Riley turned in her arms, eyes fierce through tears. "I won't hide," she declared, voice steady as the distant ferry horn, and kissed Elena deep, the taste of ash and resolve on her tongue. They tumbled to the blanket Jake had tactfully left, bodies familiar yet electric. Hands relearning curves, mouths hungry, the night's chill forgotten in the forge of their joining. Riley rode the waves Elena coaxed, hips rolling in sinuous grace, her cries swallowed by Elena's palm, climax shattering like glass, shards of pleasure glinting in the firelight. Morning brought strategy. A joint presser scripted but soul-bared. In the media room's glare, microphones bristling like spears, Elena stood shoulder to shoulder with Riley, Hargrove fidgeting beside. "We're in love," Elena stated, voice clear over the click of shutters, her hand finding Riley's under the podium, fingers lacing bold. Gasps rippled, flashes popping, but Riley's addendum cut sharper. "And we're staying. For the team. For us." The room erupted, questions hurled like fastballs, but they walked out linked heads high, the corridors echo their anthem. Backlash surged. Boycotts threatened, donors wavering, but allies rose tidal. Queer alumni flooding socials with cheer for love, the squad donning rainbow pins at practice, Mia leading chants that drowned dissent. Elena coached through it, her pre-game speeches laced with fire. "They'll try to break us, but we bend, we rise, like every comeback you've nailed." The girls nodded, eyes shining, pom-poms gripped tight, the gym's mirrors reflecting a united front. Finals night crackled, dome lit like a coliseum, 20,000 strong under a roof that trapped every roar. The air thick with hot dogs and anticipation, Puget sounds damp seeping through vents. Elena's team faced Bellevue's juggernaut, the field a battlefield of grunts and whistles. Her sideline commands a lifeline amid the fray. Riley reinstated by squad vote, captain from the track, her routines ablaze, pyramids defying gravity, cheers that rallied flagging spirits. Halftime trailed 10-7, tension a stranglehold, but Jake's halftime pep, delivered from his spotter's perch, ignited the spark. For the ones who love hardest. The turnaround was cinematic. A 99-yard drive, touchdown with seconds ticking, the stadium erupting in a sonic boom that rattled Elena's teeth. As confetti stormed, Elena vaulted the barrier, finding Riley in the crush, their hug lost in the melee but felt bone deep, hearts sinking to the victory song. Trophies gleamed under lights, but their real prize waited off-field, in the quiet hotel suite comped by boosters, where they shed uniforms and guards, bodies entwining on crisp sheets scented with hotel starch. Love unfolded languid, kisses trailing lazy rivers, fingers painting pleasure in slow strokes. Riley's gasps a melody Elena hummed along to. Their union a crescendo of sighs and shudders, release a gentle tide that lapped eternal. Months later, spring thawed the fields, cherry blossoms dusting Lincoln's paths like confetti reborn. Elena accepted a head coaching gig at a progressive college in Portland, Riley enrolling for graphic design. Their apartment overlooking the Willamette a haven of exposed brick and weekend brunches. Jake visited, crutches traded for a limp that faded weekly, his stories of PT triumphs laced with matchmaking jabs. No more hiding, pride flags waved from their balcony, dates at food trucks hand in hand, the world's stares softened to shrugs. One golden afternoon on the same lake shore where it began, Elena knelt amid pebbles, ring glinting. A simple band etched with intertwined cheers. "Marry me," she said, voice rough with emotion, the water's lap underscoring her words. Riley's yes was a sob laugh, pulling Elena up into a kiss that tasted of forever, hands framing faces slick with happy tears. They stood there as the sun dipped, casting long shadows that merged into one, the game-long one. Not on the scoreboard, but in the unbreakable bond forged from fouls and fields, cheers and stolen breaths. In the end, it wasn't the victories or the scandals that defined them, but the quiet courage of choosing each other, day by drenching day, under skies that cleared as surely as they stormed. Closer than ever they walked into the horizon, hands clasped, the world's roar a distant echo to their shared heartbeat. A love story scripted not by rules, but by the raw, relentless pull of two souls refusing to play small.